Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio, audio, no pictures live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the Palestinian protests, or the protests on behalf of, or supposedly on behalf of Palestine, that are going on at universities, not only in the United States and elsewhere, but also in Australia. So I just wanted to sort of give an overview of what's happening here now. The misinformation that the elites are supposedly so concerned about obviously does not apply to causes they want to push, and anything that pushes social disunity and social decay is something that the globalists and their flunky stooges, of course, support. It's all part of the globalist project. Now, so as a media, the biggest media outlet in Australia, it's very left-leaning, and they're very sympathetic to the Palestinian protests, and very sympathetic to any of the activism supposedly being carried out on behalf of Palestine. So I just wanted to sort of have a little look at that. They've gone out to the universities to do interviews and talk to the people that have made these encampments on the university. Now, they don't cover the fact that it's outside agitators, that the people in these camps, certainly the ones they interviewed, are not even university students, for goodness sake. They're professional, paid-up activists. They don't mention that in the article, which is, to my way of thinking, a critical piece of information. Where do all the tents come from? The various facilities and logistics, the food, the water, the portable latrines. Where does all this come from? Who's paying for it all? Now, it's not hard to find out if you want to do some online running around that there's a couple of NGOs that are really paying for the whole thing. Now, one of those NGOs is funded by a Jewish activist, for goodness sake. So the Jewish activist is funding the Palestinian protests on the university campus. I mean, get your head around that if you can. But none of this is mentioned. So the NGO is funding it and paying for it. Now, would real students be there, at their own expense and time, filled with the moral outrage that they would suffer any privation? Of course not. There would be not a single protest march or protest encampment would be there unless it was being generously supported, not only by outside agitators but also by the NGOs. But the media pieces don't cover that. I looked, and there's not one media piece. Oh, there's a sort of a centre-right small cable channel that mentions it, but otherwise none of the mainstream media outlets touch it, whether it's in print or online or whatever. So this is a grievous failing, and they should cover this. So, well, it's not spontaneous, it's not grassroots, it's outside agitators organising the whole thing, and it's being funded by these NGOs. To me, that is absolutely critical information, but instead they project or try and present these student encampments, or these encampments, as being fully grassroots, fully spontaneous. These students are decent people, outraged by what's going on, and they have a right to protest, because they're the ones who have the moral high ground, and and that's how it's presented, the reality of what's going on. In Sydney, over the last sort of so many days, it's been raining quite heavily. And there's no way that people would be out there, but none of this is being covered or brought to light, which is, to my way of thinking, a real failing of the media. The other thing that's also obvious is that the outside agitators are coordinating with the academic staff and the university administration. So this idea that these, if it's at all mentioned, which it hardly ever is, these outside activists have come in, it's suggested that they're equally outraged and are just coming to assist students with a few things. They're just helping. That's all. That's bullshit. They've come in to stir up the trouble. They've come in as paid activist agitators, experienced agitators. They know what buttons to push and how to get things moving. And they're operating in concert. They're not just turning up at the university unannounced and no one seems to know. And that's nonsense. They're coordinating, as I say, with academic staff and the university administration and often local or even state government. So there's a huge amount of collusion, and I would argue conspiracy to transgress various laws, not only the laws and so on of the university, but just of what right do they have to block a public thoroughfare, public road without proper permission, which they're not bothering to ask for. So someone's consenting to that. Someone's saying, well, don't, the people in the local government, the police and so on, saying, okay, we'll let them do that. Or they're being alerted in advance that it's going to happen and they've been told to keep a hands-off approach. Now, so this too, the collusion that's going on, which is widespread, this needs to be exposed and talked about, but nobody is. Now, there are various spokespeople that get interviewed, and it doesn't take much running around online to check some of these people out. And one is a current member. He hasn't been at university for 5 years, and he's an employee and he's an international agitator. He goes around the world stirring up trouble on behalf of his NGO, and his specialty is college kids. He's interviewed, but it's not said it's inferred that he's a student, but he in fact works. He's a full-time employee of this activist NGO, and he hasn't been at university for 5 years, and it wasn't that fucking university anyway. So. That should be stated. Outside activist NGO employee comes to university, stir up trouble. Why can't they say that? Because that's what's going on here. But instead, they don't. The next spokesperson that comes on is a girl again. She's actually a government employee, but for some reason has been given time off to become an activist agitator on campus. Now she's from a department of equality for women or something like it. She works in that department. She's got 7 facial piercings. That's just the facial piercings, and talks like a snot-nosed schoolgirl. She's another one, and then on it goes. So they're all none of them are students, and they're all fucking agitators. But that's not mentioned in any of these pieces. Now, on top of that, the agitators, if you dig around, you can find other things about them. That a few months ago they were organising climate change marches, and then they were doing equality for women marches. Now it's the fucking Palestine thing. So we're talking a class of professional agitators that just goes around to the universities, stirring up trouble and scaring up renter mobs and placard waivers on demand. Some of these NGOs actually have offices embedded in the university, so they can sort of go straight out the office door and start grabbing placard waivers all around the place. Now, the other, where there are any interviews with the activists, the supposed activists who are, our demands are, we will not move until the university does what we want. What fucking right have they got to just decide they're going to make these demands? I mean, what moral superiority would you have to think you're entitled to do that? So where the activists are asked what is it you're protesting, certainly the ones interviewed I've seen, they don't really know. They say, oh well, we're just here to show support. Well, haven't you got better things to do? Fuck. What can't you do something else? Is this it? Is this the pointy end of your life? We're here to show support for a cause that you don't even understand. The Arab-Israeli conflict is a very nuanced The Palestinian-Israeli conflict is extremely nuanced with a million twists and turns, and it would take somebody of serious IQ plus a lot of time and attention to detail to even begin to get across it. And that's certainly not the caliber of people here. They've got no idea. River to the sea. What river? What sea? What is it that what are the issues here? They just don't know. So now I watched. There are frantic claims that the police are Nazis and they're randomly arresting people. It's just a freedom of speech issue. That's all it is. But you're taking over a section of the university and denying ingress and egress to other people without any authority. You don't own this land. What are you doing? You're doing this. By what authority do you have? Or by our authority. We say we are the authority. We are the moral authority, and we can tell other people what to do because we are the morally superior one. And holy crap, So the people don't know why they're there or what they're protesting or what the issues are, and really don't care either. And one says, which I've heard before, one says, well, I don't really know why I'm here. Just someone I know texted me and says this was a very important issue and I should come and show my support. But I don't know what the issue is and I don't know what I'm supporting. Are people that stupid? Seriously. If I'm going to give my time to something, then I want to know what it is and why I'm doing it. That's just basic, isn't it? Why would you turn up? Are some of these people turning up because I don't know, they want to get laid or something? I don't know. I don't understand why you'd want to go along to something like this unless you understood what was happening. But these people don't seem to care. They don't seem to think that's important, that they need to know what's going on. It's irrelevant. There's just this, I love being outraged. It makes me feel important or something like that, I guess. So when you're watching, not only in Australia, but in the US, watching the police moving in on some of these encampments. But the police move in on not because the encampment's there. It's because the students have either taken over a building, or the agitators leading the students have taken over buildings, or they've they're preventing ingress and egress, or they're blocking the road, or doing something they've been asked nicely. And I'm thinking of one university here where they gave them 24 hours. They didn't move. They didn't, and we're not moving. We don't have to move, and we're the moral guardians. And so then the police came, and the police, you've got half an hour to move. No, we're not going anywhere. Then the police, in almost a climb down, said, okay, well, you've got 15 more minutes to move. No, we're not going. Okay, well, in 5 minutes we'll start arresting you. Now they've had 50 minutes plus the 24 hours, of course, to move, and they're all big and tough and defiant and so on. So the police start moving and say, okay, you have to move off the road now or we'll arrest you. No, screw you. So the police start arresting you. And then it's amazing, especially not so much the boys, but the girls who are all big and tough and defiant. I'm protected by my moral superiority. The minute the police grab them to arrest them, they start screaming and crying like little spoiled little girls. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. You're hurting me. And yet moments before they were big and tough. They were staring down the man. They were fighting. Now, while this is going on and the police are arresting people, then you get these crowds that sort of gather and are chanting, "You're Hitler! You're a Nazi! You're Hitler!" Oh, fuck. And this is when the police and these people have been given, goodness knows how long to move out the way. In one case, the police said, well, we won't arrest you. You can keep your encampment, but you have to move off the road. And they refused even to do that, so the police started arresting them. Now, I doubt there'll be any serious charges for these people. I would suspect they'll be given a $50 fine and told not to be naughty or something like that. But I'd be very surprised if... now, it's obvious that there are ringleaders here and outside agitators. They should be charged. They've gone into the university for the purpose of and with the intention of stirring up trouble. and they're being paid by outside groups to do so, they should face, I believe, should face charges. But I wouldn't be holding my breath on that. If you're a Christian praying outside an abortion clinic, then you'll have the SWAT team coming after you. But if you stir up this level of trouble, or you BLM or Antifa, hey, you go ahead, buddy. So anyway, this is what's going on in Australia. The main universities, very copycat. I don't think this would have happened if the agitators hadn't come along to stir things up. If the NGOs hadn't provided the logistical support, if the agitators hadn't come along, I don't think anything would have happened. But because they have, and because they're supporting it, then these very brave, morally superior students are coming along for the ride. Again, they don't really know why they're there. We just want to show support for Palestine. I mean, they couldn't even fucking find Palestine on the map, for goodness sakes. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback Channel, and thank you for listening.